Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to attend. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we just went through as a local this past summer. Unfortunately, it's a nightmare, and I use that word quite liberally. We're still living it. I'll just give you a little bit of background. So I work for the region of Durham. The region is made up of 8 area municipalities. It covers 1,400 square kilometers. Okay? So my background, I am a full-time union president right now, but I'm also a social services worker, and I have driven that 1,400 square kilometers many, many times in my career with the region. I've been there 24 years. So I've been president of the local for 4 years, but I've been on the executive board in various other capacities as vice president, health and safety officer for 17. So I'm certainly not new at this game. Anyways, our local is made up of approximately 1,630 members. We are what you call a composite local. So we cover social services, planning, works, health. We have a lot of professional people within the local, and we also have paramedics. So let's talk a little bit about the paramedics. Medics were downloaded to the regions in 1999, and at that time our local asked for the medics to come in as a separate bargaining unit. So they would be their own subunit under 1764. We asked for that, and we also asked for them to come into our accumulated sick plan. We are one of the few municipalities left that still has an accumulated sick plan. So we get 10 hours a month, and it continues to grow and grow and grow. And when we leave the employer, as long as you've been there 5 years, you get half of it up to 6 months paid out. Okay, so we still have it. I believe we are one of only 3 in the province of Ontario that still maintain it. So when the medics were being downloaded, we got a no to the subunit, and we got a big fat no to the sick plan. They weren't interested in bringing them in under ours. So they brought the paramedics in under what they call a STIP, a short-term income protection plan. And it's basically 15 weeks that they would be covered. And if they were needing more than 15 weeks, they would then have to apply for EI sick benefits and then hopefully get on to LTD. Whereas the rest of us have this plan. And I mean, I'll be quite honest with you. I have 19 months worth of sick time in my bank. I'm fortunate. I'm 51 years old. I'm healthy right now. And I've been at work every day pretty well my entire career. So I have a lot of sick time. And when I retire, and I can retire at the end of this contract in 4 years, I will get a nice payout if we still have it. I'm not convinced we're going to have it. So that takes us to bargaining this year. We knew it was going to be a tough round because the employer has successfully divided our local the last 2 rounds of bargaining. They've basically pitted the medics against the rest of the local. We managed to get through those last 2 rounds not too badly, but this round we knew was going to be tough, so we were prepared. As a bargaining committee, we worked very, very hard to get our package down to what we would consider bare bones. We asked for very little. We were more interested in getting language stuff taken care of because in the back of our mind, that sick plan was looming and we knew it was going to be on the forefront. So lo and behold, May 14th, we exchanged proposals with the employer and they handed us a 30-page document with 63 concessions. We got to page 9. There was a few not so nice words in the room. And we filed for conciliation because we knew we were done. So we managed to, get through a few days of reviewing further, and I can tell you the room got bluer and bluer. Every page we turned, it was, oh my God, are they kidding? Oh my God, are they effing kidding? Like, it was just unbelievable. And then we got to the second last page, and that's when it hit us. It wasn't our sick plan. They weren't touching us, the big group. They wanted to not pay our paramedics for the first 3 days they were sick. So in my local, I consider having 2 vulnerable groups. We have our medics and we have our childcare workers. And in my mind, those are the two groups that we always have to think first and foremost about when it comes to sick time, because they deal with, people who are sick all the time. So we took a position that if they were not going to pay one member of the local one day being sick, we weren't going to comply. We weren't going to give in. And we took a very, very firm stand. We had lots of meetings. We had lots of information sessions. We ended up taking a strike vote or a mandate, and we got a 93% strike mandate, which was good. It gave us a little bit of, leverage with the employer, or so we thought. And we then proceeded back to the table to try and resolve some of the issues. I will say that the bulk of the issues fell off the table at that point, but they were still holding on to this paramedic sick time. So we proceeded to try and get as much resolved as we could. It just did not go well. We ended up being taken out of the region into Toronto to bargain, which, it was a joke. An absolute joke. This is my 5th round of bargaining, and I've never seen a round of bargaining like this in my life. I've never been called a liar so many times in my life. I had a very casual conversation with the Commissioner of HR after it was all settled, and I said, I knew going in it was going to be tough, and I can take a lot, but I said what I can't take and what I refuse to take is having my 83 and 84-year-old parents watching global news. And although you didn't mention my name, you called me a liar and told the world that I was lying to my members. And I said, then my parents' phone starts ringing off the hook. Is he talking about Pauline? Oh my God, everybody's freaking out because they know he's talking about me. But anyways, we got to a point that we thought we could get it resolved. We were in Toronto this one day, and we had conciliators there, and we actually had some very high level, like bosses of bosses from the labor board were there with us. This is how contentious this became. And we had come basically to an impasse, but I said to my group, okay, look, let's go in and give it one more shot. Let's just sit down with them and just try and talk through this. So we went into the room with the employer, and there was about 15 of them from their side, and there was about 8 from our side. And the chief of EMS, I affectionately call him Mr. Puffy Chest, was sitting there in his full regalia. That's how he came to bargaining every day. It was ridiculous. And I said, what can we do to get this resolved, okay? You know our position. We're not coming off it. We cannot have people not being paid when they're sick. So let's try and find a way to make this work. And the response I got was, do you realize that QP 1764 is the #1 trend on Twitter today? It's 2:30 in the morning. I have been going on about 3 hours sleep a night at most for about 4 weeks at this point, and I looked at the lawyer from the region and said, okay, I just want to make sure I heard you right. Are you flipping kidding me? Yeah, we're the #1 trend on Twitter, because that's what being in a union means. That's solidarity, something that none of you would know anything about. I think we're done here. And we got up and walked out, and we hit the bricks 4 hours later, much to the region's surprise. So QP 1764 is going to be 40 years old on Friday. It's our anniversary. And the region was 40 years old this year. Never in the life of the region or the local had we ever gone out on strike. We'd always, succumbed. And I remember at one meeting, one of the guys in my room saying, what do you think they're saying in there right now, Pauline? And I said, I know exactly what they're saying. Oh, don't worry, she'll get it solved. She'll make them roll over. Not this time. They saw a side of me they've never seen. And I think it kind of shocked them. Anyways, we hit the bricks. Paramedics, of course, cannot strike. They are not essential service. But under the Ambulance Services Bargaining Act, you do have to enter into an essential services agreement, which we did. We gave the region 100% service. There was no way that we wanted anybody in any family to risk not having an ambulance at their house if they needed it. So we gave 100% service. I will tell you that the employer opted to maybe go 115, 120% some days, but God love them. We just hit them with another labor board complaint. So we were out, and it was pretty awful. I just can't tell you anything really good about it. First couple of days were really, everybody's all rah-rah, and everybody's having a good time. We had good weather. Lots of people were dropping off food and pizza. We're all talking about what the imminent thing is. We're giving our version of events. It's about sick time. And the media is hearing other things from the employer. This is not what it's about. It's about people taking advantage. So we went through this process. We finally, one Monday morning I got up and I just, finally had enough of it. And I just said to our rep from QP, why don't we try and bring a mediator in? Somebody that we trust, both the employer and ourselves. And Jerry Lee is the mediator that we most often use. He's wonderful. And we contacted him and we contacted the employer, and they said, yes, we're willing to use Jerry. Let's try and get something done. So at the end of the day, we met 18, 19 hours, I think, that day with Jerry, and we got a deal. We did not protect our paramedics as much as I would have liked, but we ended up getting them 96 hours. So depending if you're a 10-hour truck or a 12-hour truck would depend on how many days. And they get the bank like we get. So if they're not sick, those 96 hours would go into a bank and half of it would be paid out, but at the end of the year. So they actually don't get to accumulate it like we do. Not a great thing. But what we really tried to sell to the rest of the members was, and I truly do believe it in my heart, because we've seen it happen. We've seen it with the City of Toronto. We've seen it with other area municipalities. They're coming after us next. We took a 4-year deal. And the only reason we took a 4-year deal was so that we could back end our percentage increase on the 4th year. We did we didn't do well at all monetarily, but we backloaded that 4th year, and it was to protect the sick plan for another 4 years, because we know that employer is coming after it. They're going to get it one way or another. For the region, the last number I heard, it was a $39 million unfunded liability. Now, don't get me wrong. That's not all my members. That's our commissioners who make $400,000 a year, who are going to get $200,000 when they walk out the door. So it's not just 1764. But at the end of the day, we did the best we could do. I can tell you that we were hit with an Ontario Labour Relations Board complaint by the employer 2 weeks after we went back to work. It was to do with EMS, and we had to enter into an agreement for an order that ends today in order to save one of my paramedics' jobs. And it was all over sick time. And I can tell you, at 9:15 last night, I attended a meeting with that medic, with his employer, and he has been suspended for 126 hours. 10 and a half shifts for trying to support his members over sick time. So, you know what today is, right? It's the 30th of September, grievance has been filed, we're going to 49 it as quickly as we can, and we'll get in front of an arbitrator very quickly. But what people need to understand is sick time, and I think for some people, if you never have it, you don't realize how good it is, right? So trying to hang on to it is so important. And for long-term employees, it's even more important. So, it's a tough thing to go through. We've survived it, still have some bruises and we're working through those, but we've survived it and we're going to move forward. But we know in 2018, ours is going to be gone. There'll be nothing left. So if you guys can hang on to it, you got to do whatever you can do to hang on to it. You really do.